The scene opens as a high school student, named Claire McClaskey, sets up her camera to report on a topic that many students detest, detention. To give her audience more in-depth coverage, she decides to interview the actual students who are in detention one by one. First up is Brooke Cabot. She is the actual definition of the mean girl who listens to none other than herself. The reason why she ended up in detention was that when one of her teachers tried to flirt with her, she made sure that he never did so again. Her dealing with the teacher in her own way mindset landed her here as a consequence. Next is MJ. She was making out with her boyfriend when they both got caught. Same as Brooke, MJ also thinks that detention does nothing when it comes to rehabilitating someone, and is only a means of annoying students. Next is Greta, who only ditched her chemistry class because she wanted to help one of her hockey teammates. An argument almost breaks out among the girls, but the teacher intervenes and asks Claire to hurry up instead. One thing is clear from this interaction, and that is that all the girls belong to different social groups, some even despising each other. There is one girl that hasn't spoken since the interview started. Claire tries to get her attention, but there is no response from her. Brooke reveals that actually, she is a new girl who only broods all day and never speaks much. There are even some rumors about her that she is a devil worshipper. Just at that moment, the camera reveals the new girl standing right behind Brooke and staring right at the camera. Unlike what Brooke had claimed, she appears to be rather friendly and introduces herself as Jules. It's already clear that she is the oddest in the group. Her reason for being in detention is that she sent a guy to the hospital who tried to touch her inappropriately. All the other girls are shocked to hear this, as the guy she pushed is more than 200 pounds, and it is impossible that she did all that damage to him by herself. The only explanation Jules has for this is that she was able to do it because she believed in herself. Brooke is already weary of Jules. She doesn't believe a thing Jules says and even challenges her to show them some magic if she isn't bluffing. Jules smiles knowingly. She raises her hand in the air, muttering a spell under her breath, and suddenly, the alarm goes off. They are all escorted outside while the firefighters secure the premises. Jules explains that the reason she was able to do it is that they all believed in her. Together as a group, they helped her make the impossible possible. While Brooke still thinks it was all fake, all the other girls beg Jules to teach them how to do magic just like her. Jules, who just wants to leave, agrees when they promise that they are going to take this more seriously, just like a religion. She asks them to meet her at Merrymeeting Park, a place known for horrific crimes committed against accused witches. At midnight, she will show them how they can access unlimited powers together. Brooke again makes fun of Jules for suggesting something so cheesy, but nevertheless, Jules ignores her and leaves. It appears that Brooke and Claire won't be going. Brooke doesn't believe Jules, and Claire is the perfect textbook example of a good girl who does everything that her parents tell her to. Later at home, for the first time ever, Claire sneaks out without letting her parents know. Claire feels guilty and it almost feels illegal to do this, but then again, people commit worse crimes than this, so it's all good. That's what she tells herself. As Claire is walking alone on an empty street, Brooke jumps in front of her out of nowhere and nearly gives Claire a heart attack. Both of them are surprised to see each other when both of them implied that they wouldn't be coming. Beyond the surface and all the rumors, Brooke isn't a terrible person. She tells Claire that her parents got divorced, and all the money her mother got out of the settlement was spent on liquor. Claire feels sorry for her, but Brooke lets her know that it's okay now. Greta is passing by in her car when she sees them both walking to the park and offers them a ride. They are finally here but are disappointed to see that there is no one. Out of nowhere, Jules appears and announces that they are late. They need to get on it as soon as possible. Quickly, Jules makes a pentagon on the ground with salt. Greta points out that it looks satanic, but Jules assures them that their pentagon is different. It represents 4 primal elements, which are earth, wind, fire, and water. 5th is the spirit that belongs to the people who have passed away. All of them dig a hole at 5 different points and bury a chunk of their hair as an offering. On a piece of paper, there are some chants written to make like-minded souls bind together. The girls couldn't be more different from each other, but the fact that they are here together represents that they are the same. To make a strong coven, all the girls stand in their place and chant the spell together. After performing the ritual, they sit together and gossip about the witches who passed away here, right in this park, during the pre-Salem witch trials. Jules tells them about a woman named Mary Perkins, who, although discovered alive, was later blamed for the massacre that they themselves. Just as they are talking, a woman's scream in the distance grabs all of their attention. They run to the site where they buried their hair and are horrified to see that they are no longer there. Someone dug their hair out and stole them. Although the girls are terrified, Brooke mentions that this is why they came here. This only proves that their ritual worked. Later in school, Claire ditches her usual group of friends and goes to sit with Jules, who is eating alone. MJ is also here, and it appears that she is still shaken up by what happened last night. She suspects that someone might have stalked them and stolen their hair just to mess with them. Jules takes out the paper with the spells on it and begins to look for some explanation, when MJ's boyfriend, Darren, and his best friend, Jason, sneak up on them from behind and snatch the paper from Jules's hands. Darren is pissed at why MJ would sit with them rather than him. Greta comes from behind and single-handedly manages to take it away from him. Before leaving, Jason inquires if Claire has done the trig homework, but she reveals she hasn't. He too, just like Darren, leaves, disappointed. Unexpectedly, Brooke, who was a skeptic before, also reveals that now, she too, believes that their ritual worked, rather than MJ's stalker theory. Now, to seal the deal, they have to perform the second ritual, which is commencement. Brooke offers to host them at her house for the ritual at 11 p.m. Although all the other girls agree, MJ has her doubts. She is still scared of what's happening and is worried that she might be making some deal with the devil. Jules tries to assure her that they are only getting powers from the natural vibrations around them. If MJ decides not to join them for the commencement, then there will be no coven as they are now all bonded for life. Brooke is worried that their ritual might not work because of MJ's chickening out. She shares her thoughts with Claire and asks her to convince MJ before something bad happens. Mr. Dwyer scolds Brooke for interrupting the class, but she retorts back with sarcasm. He decides to ignore her and continues teaching the class. Everyone is at Brooke's for the last ritual, but MJ still isn't. The ritual is about to begin when there is a knock at the door, and it's revealed that MJ has finally decided to join them. Seeing MJ, everyone takes a sigh of relief. With her here, they sit in a circle and start chanting the spell. The chanting ends and they wait for a sign, but the only spooky thing that happens is the flickering of lights. It's quite underwhelming for the girls as they had expected something more. Greta suggests that they should test their new powers, and Jules tells them that it's quite easy. They just have to come up with some mantra and focus their energy on the center. Again, all the girls sit in a circle with a book in the center and repeat their own mantra to levitate the book. Nothing happens. The girls are disappointed, but Jules still hasn't given up. She tells them to believe that the book is already in the air, and when the girls start to chant the mantra with this mindset, the book actually begins to float in the air. Once they accomplish this, all the girls look towards Claire, who has no idea what's about to happen to her. Now they all chant the same spell, but this time, for Claire to be lifted in the air. And that's what happens. As soon as the girls start chanting the spell, Claire starts floating in the air. Unexpectedly, Brooke's mom returns home earlier than expected, with a guy. Lucky for them, she doesn't see Claire in the air and is instead more eager to go to her room with the guy she brought. As soon as they leave, Claire falls back on the ground, and the girls surround her, thinking that she might have hurt herself, but instead, Claire starts laughing at their horrid expressions. The girls, once they are sure she is fine, begin to laugh with her. The next day after high school, they meet up in a cafe, but MJ isn't there because of her dental appointment. In her absence, they decide to do something fun, and using their magic spell, trick the rude waitress into thinking that they have already paid her. There is no money, but the waitress thinks that there is, and even offers to bring them a change. Seeing the extent of what they can do with their magic powers, the girls are more excited than ever, except for Claire. She thinks that it's morally wrong and they kind of stole the money by not paying the waitress. Of course, no one else agrees with her and instead plans on going on a shopping spree. Although Greta knows that it's wrong, even she is tempted by the offer because she really needs new shoes for the upcoming match, so Claire has no option but to follow them. At the store, they pick up whatever they want without paying them anything. Thanks to their magic abilities, they even get their hair done and some gold jewelry as well. Without any fear of getting caught, they continue to shop for whatever they want except for Claire. Darren finds them in the street and asks if they have checked up on MJ, who is in pain because of her dentist appointment. All the girls are embarrassed because, during their shopping spree, they totally forgot about her. The next day in school, Brooke stupidly decides to make a haul video in Mr. Dwyer's class and is again scolded by him. He asks her to answer a question, but she has no idea what it is. He is about to scold her again when Claire answers instead, hoping that he would stop bothering Brooke. Instead, he embarrasses her more by comparing her to Claire and calling her the dumb one. Brooke is enraged by this, and when Claire sees this, she starts chanting that Mr. Dwyer is a coffee mouth. Brooke joins her, and surely, he begins to spit coffee from his mouth. All the students laugh at him and, embarrassed, he quickly runs out of the class. After the class, all the girls sit together and laugh at what happened to Mr. Dwyer. Although Claire feels bad about it, all the other girls think it's justified because he is a jerk to everyone. In the middle of their conversation, MJ, who has been missing because of her dental treatment, also joins the conversation, and things get quite awkward quickly. They talk about how in class Claire and Brooke cast a spell on Dwyer without any assistance from the others. Even without MJ, they were able to do whatever they wanted. Nevertheless, things go back to being normal when Greta confesses that she has been asked to go on a date without using any magic. Brooke points out that the reason they all made a coven is that they all wanted something. Now, to make that happen, she instructs everyone to form a list and bring it to her home at midnight, so that they can help each other make their wishes come true. Later, Jules and Claire are walking back home together when a crazy lady jumps out of an alleyway and attacks Claire. She is grabbing Claire's arms tightly and refuses to let go, causing the girls to panic. Jules sees her in trouble, shouts "let go," and suddenly, a purplish dark light appears from her hands and the woman goes flying back. They all escape safely, but a small bruise is left on Claire's arm from the incident. When asked how Jules did that, she reveals that she wanted the woman away from Claire, and when she willed it, the magic happened. At home, Claire is reading a psychological study of the students who were divided into two groups, prisoners and guards. The experiment became so violent that it had to be terminated. The temptation of power and dominance was too much for them and they yielded to it. She correlates this experiment with detention, the same project that brought her closer to her new friends at the start of the movie. She is busy reading and documenting it when her younger sister sneaks up on her and jumps on her. Their mother comes to Claire's rescue and asks her sister to do her homework instead of just annoying her. They reach Brooke's home, but she is already waiting for them outside. Her mother, again, has the same guy over so they have to go somewhere else. Thankfully, Greta has a car, so there's not much trouble, and she takes them to the woods where they sit and talk about their to-do list. Most of their wishes are superficial, like MJ's, who wishes for surgery to enhance her back, and Darren's to propose to her. Jules, on the other hand, wishes to be the crown queen at the coming spring fling. Claire thinks that they should be careful what they wish for and advises the girls to narrow down their list. Reluctantly, they all agree and decide what they want to wish for first. Greta wishes for a win in an upcoming match and a new car. Brooke wishes that Dwyer starts treating her well, and that her mother stops drinking alcohol. MJ wishes that Darren proposes to her as soon as possible, and Claire wants nothing but her father to have a job and her little sister's stutter to be gone. MJ also wishes to fly, and she does, but it does not go as planned. At first, she is having fun, but suddenly, she is met with an accident and lands herself in the hospital. Darren is also there and is disappointed that out of all the nights, this would be the night when MJ ends up in the hospital. He takes out a ring from his pocket, shocking the girls who gasp as they see it. This can only mean that one by one, their wishes are coming true. The next day at school, Dwyer asks Brooke to stay behind as the class is leaving. She reveals her test results and shows Claire the full grade Dwyer gave her. Finally, he is treating her just the way she wanted. As Claire is walking back, recording Brooke, she bumps into Jason. Jason seems flustered, and instead of being mad at her, invites her to a party while completely ignoring Brooke. Claire is happy but Brooke isn't. She even calls Jason gay for not giving her any attention, considering most of the guys at her school do, and then changes the topic to a pimple growing on her face. Later at Greta's game, she easily wins against the other team, exactly like they had planned. They all cheer for her, and Greta is happy about the support she is getting. She even has a new car, and unlike her previous one, this one shines even brighter than the sun itself. At night, they all do a group video call and try to catch up with MJ, but she isn't answering any of them. When she does, however, join the call, it only lasts a minute as she tells them to stop bothering her. Apparently, due to the incident, MJ is now even wearing braces. After this small interaction, she disconnects without hearing any of them out. Brooke gives them her life update as she tells them that her mom, after years of pain and negligence, is finally acting like a kind and caring mother. She is taking care of her in every possible way and has even given up her drinking habits. With the promise of meeting each other at 11, they end the call. Claire goes downstairs to eat dinner, and there, her family is waiting happily for her. They eventually share the news that her father got the job offer after years of unemployment, just like Claire had wished for. When her sister begins to congratulate their father, she realizes that even her stutter is gone. Although everything seems to be going perfectly well in their life, one cannot help but feel as if something sinister is right around the corner, waiting for the perfect opportunity to reveal itself. Claire, Brooke, and Greta go to the party that Jason was talking about earlier. MJ isn't here, but Jules promises to join them later. Nevertheless, they attend the party without them and have a great time participating in most of the activities, especially Brooke. Claire, on the other hand, feels out of place, considering this is the first party she has ever attended. Jason finds Claire standing alone and starts a small conversation with her. Brooke, seeing them together, also inserts herself into their conversation, changing the topic completely. Greta and the guy she is seeing, Brett, also join them. Everyone is having a great time, even Claire, who is finally able to mix with the crowd. She goes to look for Jason in a forest, when she sees Jules descending from the sky on a broomstick. This is what MJ was missing, a broom. If she had one, she would have never had an accident like she did. Jules and Claire go to meet up with the rest of the girls, but Brooke is nowhere to be found. They look for her and eventually see her, but to Claire's dismay, she is seen making out with Jason. Claire is pissed, and rightly so. Brooke knows she liked him but still did that nevertheless. The next day, Claire and Jules are pulled out of the class, as some detectives are here to meet them. They don't understand what is happening, and it turns out that they are here to investigate the shopping spree girls did a few days back. The cashier is confident that they paid, but the security footage clearly shows them walking out without paying anything. This has baffled them, and they are here to see if the girls have any receipts. They don't. As usual, Claire almost panics, but Jules keeps herself steady and calm. She simply lets them know that they have no right to investigate them without any proof, and it's true. Although Detective Strauss suspects some foul play, she has no option but to let them go for now. Brooke is standing alone at her locker when Dwyer approaches her. At first, he only applauds her progress, but then suddenly tries to come onto her. This takes her by surprise, and she quickly runs from there. This whole incident is even witnessed by a student in the hallway. Later, Jules informs Claire that Dwyer turned himself in for what he has done to Brooke. Claire feels for the guy, as he wasn't really a bad teacher, and partially holds their magic responsible for his demise. Nonetheless, Jules notices that Claire is somewhere unfamiliar, and she reveals that she is at her eye doctor's office as she is having trouble seeing, even with her glasses. The doctor comes in and is followed by her mother, who looks very worried for her daughter. He reveals that she has macular degeneration, in which a person loses their vision gradually. During one of her games, Greta seems to be winning it for her team but then suddenly falls down, holding her knee in pain. She is diagnosed with early onset of arthritis. Claire has a theory that they are all losing their health in one way or another due to magic. She is worried that soon, they will all become like old witches, walking with a hump. Brooke, on the other hand, isn't ready to let go of the happiness she found by means of magic. Despite Claire's all efforts to stop her, Brooke refuses to do so, as this would mean that she will lose her mother again. She is willing to get herself in trouble even if that means hurting her friends. MJ, on the other hand, still refuses to talk with them, even when Claire brings her homework to her home. Jules and Claire go to visit Greta, who to their shock now walks on a crutch. Her whole life has been turned upside down just because she wished for some stupid things that she didn't even need in the first place. As they are talking, Detective Strauss pulls into her driveway and inquires about the new car she bought. Same as before, there are no transcription receipts, and her suspicion keeps growing. Greta is done with all of this and just asks the detective to take it back, as it is more of a curse for her now. The detective has seen this happening before and is about to tell Claire, but Jules interjects. She asks her to leave them alone, but Claire stops her. She wants to know what the detective has to say and instead asks Jules to wait for her outside. After Jules leaves, the detective tells Claire about a group of girls she knew 17 years ago. Same as them, they kept collecting things that didn't belong to them and it ended badly for them. Claire becomes increasingly worried when she hears about the fate of those girls because it appears that they are going down the same route. Claire is walking back when she feels that she is being followed. Jason appears out of nowhere and tries to join her, but Claire asks him to leave her alone. He apologizes to her and reveals that he is surprised by what happened that day. In fact, he was hoping that she could be his date to the spring fling that is happening tomorrow. Although she really wants to, she doesn't stop and keeps walking, even when Jason is practically begging her to forgive him. Back at home, Claire is on a video call with Jules, and they discuss what their next move should be. Claire really wants the link between them to be broken, but there seems to be no way to do it. During their conversation, Jules keeps hearing strange noises coming from behind her. She gets up to check the source of this noise, but instead, a black mist appears and pushes her across the room. Seeing this horrific ordeal, Claire screams for her mom to call for an ambulance. Jules is in the hospital, and although Claire really wants to go see her, she cannot until the next morning. Brooke is back with her obnoxious group of friends and keeps ignoring Claire at school. Claire picks up her friend's homework and is on her way to meet Jules in the hospital when she again gets the feeling of being watched. She is scared and afraid, but there is no explanation for what she is feeling. At the hospital, Claire sees Jules' foster parents standing in the hallway, but they look strange. Their eyes are filled with terror, yet their faces remain emotionless. Jules' father, with a shivering voice, tells Claire that he really loves her, as if he is trying to convince her that he does. Claire ignores their strange behavior and enters the room where Jules is resting. She reveals all the details about the horrific incident and tells her that when she woke up, she found Brooke's hair strand in her fist. She asks Claire to be vigilant, as she fears that if Brooke was able to do this to her, then she might go to any extent to hurt them. Jules suspects that Brooke is still practicing magic and wants them out of her way to achieve her goals. Claire is back home, still terrified at what might happen next, when she hears noises from outside the window. She goes to check and sees Brooke standing there. Brooke is here to talk about something, but Claire is scared of her. She knows that there is no other way but to confront her. To protect herself outside, she casts a spell to become invisible when she says the word invisibility, and under this safety, leaves the house to meet up with Brooke. Brooke tries to make a small conversation, even asking her if she is still mad about Jason's situation, but Claire doesn't say much. Brooke notices that she is more on the edge and is acting defensive, so she takes a step towards her, which Claire finds threatening and says the magic word for visibility. Brooke laughs at her feeble attempt at protecting herself. Brooke attacks Claire with electric powers, but Claire manages to escape. Claire disappears and then reappears, 10 times bigger than her usual size. They both fight some more, and when they are finally done, they sit and confront each other. Claire is mad at her because she thinks she is the reason why Jules is in the hospital, while Brooke reveals that when she woke up this morning, she had a derogatory word written all over her body and thought that Claire did it. Claire realizes that Brooke isn't the one hurting them, but that there is something more sinister at play. Seeing that they have no choice, Claire contacts Detective Strauss for some answers. At the police station, Claire shows Brooke her hair that is turning white, while Brooke has pimples growing all over her body, just like they would on an old witch. Also, Brooke is also directly impacted by their magic, as she is losing her hearing. But the only person who isn't affected by it is Jules. Claire realizes that Jules might be hiding something from them and it is hurting them. They are here to know more about the girls from 17 years ago. The detective tells them the 3 girls passed away while the 2 remain missing to this day. One of the missing girls' pictures is blurry, and Claire asks if there is another one, but the detective reveals that all the pictures she has of her are blurry. Brooke finds this news alarming and suggests that this girl might be Jules. Even though it sounds ridiculous that it's her, they cannot rule out this possibility. To prove this theory, they sneak into the school late at night, with the help of a friend, and manage to get into the school's old records. There, they find the pictures of the missing girl, and to their terror, it's her. It's Jules. To make things worse, she's been there for longer than 17 years. According to school records, she has been befriending friends under different names since 1932. All of the groups she has been friends with met with tragic endings. She also resembles one of the accused witches back in the 1600s. What's been happening to them is finally starting to make sense, but they still need answers. Jules is a hundreds of years old witch who returns to this very town every 17 years and uses the name of her original victims to remain unknown. Claire sees a picture of one of the missing victims and realizes that she knows her. This victim isn't missing, but is still around, and Claire knows where. Back at the police precinct, Detective Strauss has stayed up all night, rampaging through the shreds of evidence, searching for some answers. She lost her older sister just like the other girls, and has been trying to find her ever since. Claire takes Brooke to the same alleyway, where she was attacked by that strange woman. Turns out that Sarah is the same missing woman from years ago. Her face is all messed up and she appears to be guarded, continuously asking if Abby, also known as Jules, is here with them. Once they assure her that she isn't, Sarah agrees to talk with them. She reveals that through the coven, she stays young. The only way to stop her is by not crowning her at the spring fling, something that Jules wished for earlier. Suddenly, she walks in the middle of the road and is hit by a van. They leave the scene quickly, as detectives are already suspecting them. They contact MJ and come up with a plan of taking Jules down. Back at the hospital, Jules is traumatizing her fake foster parents, who can do nothing but whimper in fear and follow her every instruction. Surprisingly, MJ is here to visit Jules. After asking about her health, MJ informs Jules that Brooke and Claire have been missing since last night. Jules is surprised to hear that and advises MJ to keep herself safe. She also gives her a smoothie that MJ promises to drink on her way home. On her way out of the hospital, MJ calls Brooke. It was all part of the plan, to make Jules believe that Brooke and Claire are out of her way. Girls had earlier advised MJ to not eat or drink anything that Jules offered her, as poisoning is her most common method of eliminating anyone who threatens her existence. At the spring fling, the girls, including Greta, chant the spell to make sure that Jules doesn't get crowned. MJ loses another tooth, indicating that the magic is working. The party is almost about to end, but there is still no sign of Jules. Even if their spell works and she doesn't get crowned, the girls fear that then she may come for them. Finally, Jules makes an entrance and surprises everyone. She walks arm in arm, with Jason at one side and Brett on the other. Though this might have hurt the girls before, right now, they have bigger things to worry about. The time has come for the coronation, and the host is handed the envelope, which has crowned the queen's name. Jules is confident that she will be the one wearing that crown, but when the name is announced, all her dreams are crushed. It's some other girl's name, and she walks past Jules, even calling her a freak on her way to the stage. After this humiliating defeat, Jules sees the girls hanging around together, and walks toward them, along with Jason and Brett tailing her. She tries to act innocent, but the girls have had enough. They know the truth about her, and they don't even try to hide it this time. Finally, Jules's whole facade deteriorates, and she starts to show them her true colors. She not only threatens them, but also their families. Hearing her threaten her relationship with Darren, MJ is overcome with anger, and in a fit of fury, she attacks Jules. Jules uses her magic powers and fights her and anyone who comes to attack her. Seeing this as a chance to escape, Brooke and Claire, along with Jason, run to find some safety. Unfortunately, Jules is catching up to them, and they don't have much time left. Moreover, she offers that if they give her Jason, she will let them go. Brooke knows that there is no way they can all escape, so she offers to hold her off, till Claire has taken Jason somewhere safe. Brooke tries to fight Jules, but she is very weak compared to her. Jules is a witch who has lived for hundreds of years, whereas Brooke was introduced to magic just last month. Claire knows that she has to go back to save her friend from the terrible end, and she hands Jason to her school fellows and goes back. She saves Brooke right on time, but to their dismay, Jason, who is being controlled by Jules, walks right back to her. Claire offers herself instead of Jason, but Jules needs a male virgin, so instead of wasting another second, she disappears into thin air with Jason by her side. Claire has already given up, but MJ appears with hope in her eyes, and tells her that she knows where Jules is headed. They both get on the broomstick, and are on their way to the merrymeeting park, when they get into an accident. MJ can no longer walk further, but she instructs Claire to keep going. Claire listens to MJ and doesn't stop until she finds Jules. Jason is lying on top of the rock, ready to be when Claire stops them. Upon asking, Jules reveals that she is in fact Mary Perkins, the same witch who was accused of all the murders back then. She is about to put the knife in Jason's chest, when Detective Strauss appears from the trees, with her gun drawn out. Instead of fearing the weapon, Jules walks towards the detective, and although her hands are up, she attacks the detective, using magic. Claire, seeing that she alone cannot defeat her, calls upon all the victims of Jules throughout the time to help her. As she is chanting, MJ also joins her, and together, they manage to summon all those tormented souls. Jules is busy fighting the detective when all her victims' souls surround her. Jules tries to fight them off, but she is helpless in front of them all, and finally, after turning to her true form, disappears for good. The detective also gets to see her sister for the last time before she too vanishes. After the whole ordeal, the detective takes a sigh of relief, seeing that the girls are all right, and instructs them to visit the station to give their witness testimonies. Claire has completed her project about detention, but left the ending open, so there could be more than one answer. She is discussing her project details with one of her geek friends when Brooke enters the room and asks Claire if she is going to join her. Claire is happy to do so and walks out. This incident has only brought Claire, Brooke, Greta, and MJ closer together. They appear healthier than before and spend most of their time together. Jason, who remembers nothing from last night, approaches Claire. This time, before something happens, he hastily asks her if she wants to go out with him. Claire, with no hesitation, replies yes, and then leaves with her friends. Although they appear happy and lively, someone is still keeping an eye on them, waiting for an opportunity to get their revenge.